Yes. But in a coffee shop, they have to go through the same steps, but they do it, they get it set up, and then they can go, 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 make lots of coffee. Thank you for your question. but but in a coffee shop, they have to go through the same steps, but they do it, they get it set up, and then they can go, 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 make lots of coffee. Oh, thank you for your question. Okay. So I just wanted to step back a little bit and show you what coffee looks like. So this is a coffee plant, and here's what the flower looks like. Okay. Are we okay? So I just wanted to step back a little bit and show you what coffee looks like. So this is a coffee plant, and here's what the flower looks like. Okay. Okay. Well, I just wanted to step back a little bit and show you what coffee looks like. So this is a coffee plant, and here's what the flower looks like. Okay. Okay. Well, I just wanted to step back a little bit and show you what coffee looks like. So this is a coffee plant, and here's what the flower looks like. Oh, yes. Okay. Well, I just wanted to step back a little bit and show you what coffee looks like. So this is a coffee plant, and here's what the flower looks like. Oh, okay. Well, I just wanted to step back a little bit and show you what coffee looks like. So this is a coffee plant, and here's what the flower looks like. Okay. Oh, okay. 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 Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We'll continue. So I just wanted to step back a little bit and so people can see what coffee is about. So here's a coffee plant, and here's the coffee flower, quite beautiful. And so when they get ripe, then this is what the coffee bean looks like. Flower after flower is like that. Yeah, then it will have the bean, the fruit. The fruit is the bean. Yes. And so many people have heard of this. They call it cat coffee. Have you heard, anybody heard of cat coffee? So the cats, they really like the coffee bean. And supposedly they just eat the ones that are really perfect. So that's one reason why people think that the cat coffee is good, because the cats are, they're not really cats, it's some kind of animal, I can't remember. But they just eat the really good ones. And then the ones that are not ready, then they won't eat them. So supposedly they're the best beans. Okay. And here you can see the coffee bushes. They're trees, but they don't grow as tall as some of our trees. So you can see how tall they get. And then here's a coffee plantation. Most of the coffee is produced in this region of the world here. due to the climate, I believe. And most of our coffee comes from Brazil. I think about, oh, here it is. Brazil, 32% of the coffee comes from Brazil, and Vietnam is number 2. About 16% of our coffee comes from Vietnam. We get a small amount from Hawaii, not too much. Yeah, so that's why it's so expensive, the Kona coffee. So after the beans are harvested, and then the outside is washed off, and then the coffee looks like this. They call it green coffee because it's kind of green. And then after you roast it, then it can be pretty dark. And then now it's very popular to roast coffee in a lighter roast. So you can see there's quite a variety in the color of how dark you can roast it. And so once we have the roasted coffee beans, then we have to grind it in order to produce the coffee. So depending on how you're brewing your coffee will depend on how you grind it. So I think some people may use this kind of device for making coffee. This is a French press. So usually with this, the grind is quite coarse. And then when we go to the way we usually make coffee with the drip, it's kind of like a medium grind, and then finer and finer. Usually, pretty much the finest that we'll go is for espresso. So you have to have a grinder that can grind the coffee very fine in order to do espresso. A normal coffee grinder, like some have the blade, you can't do espresso with that kind of grinder.
The grand like side will be darker and the lower will be light when you cook the coffee.
Oh, when you brew the coffee? What do you mean, darker or light?
More strong.
Usually, yes. Yes, right. So when, so if we go up, oh, you will, yes. Oh, I'm sorry, okay. Okay, yes. So this, the darker, usually stronger flavor, yes. And then when you roast it like this, quite often it tastes sour.
That's what Starbucks calls the blonde roast.
Yeah, the lighter roast, yes. But the blonde roast, I believe, is more in this range. It's not, I don't think it's that light, but sometimes they get very light. Okay. All right. Okay, and then I have a picture of all the different brewing methods. So here we have the French press here. So if you've used, I'm sure many of you used it before, you just put the coffee in here, then you pour in the hot water, then you wait for a while, and then you just press it like this, very gently. Not much pressure, even though they call it a press. And there's another one that's very popular these days. I don't know if you've seen this or not. A lot of people like this. It's similar to this, but there's a little bit more pressure when you push down. So in Asia, this is very popular, the siphon. I think in Taiwan and Japan, this is very popular. Let's see. Oh, this one. This is kind of new. I don't know if you've tried it before, but they call it cold brew. Anybody had cold brew coffee? Yeah. So you don't use hot water to brew it. You use cold water. And in this one, I actually use ice. So I fill this with ice. The coffee goes in here. there's a filter, a very, very fine filter. And then you can put cold water or ice into here, and then it will drip one drop at a time. So it has a little valve here, so you can adjust how it drips. So I usually adjust it to 1 drip per second. So when I make coffee this way, I let it drip overnight. I don't wait for it. So
Can you show us? We cannot see the machine.
oh, I'm sorry. We don't have a camera. Oh, oh, okay. This is a the ice or cold drip here.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. It's here in the slide, it's here on this one to the lower left. And then we have the mocha pot, which is very popular. I just leave it in the room temperature. Some people do cold brew in the refrigerator too. Yeah, so that's another way to do it. This is what they call a mocha pot. And in Italy, in the homes, this is the way they brew coffee at home. Most people do in Italy. When they go out to the cafe, then they've got the big espresso machine in the coffee shops that are doing the. But so this is a mocha, what they call a mocha pot. It has nothing to do with chocolate. I don't know where the name came from, but you just you put your coffee in here, fill it with water, and then put it back together, then put it on the stove, and then it will brew into the chamber in here. It's very strong. It's very strong, but it's not espresso. It's not espresso. And then I think you've seen these. This is how they do it in Vietnam. So this is so easy to use. It's very nice. I like it. So you just put your coffee in here, and then you just pour hot water and just let it drip through. Okay. And then the last two on the slide on the right, the lower right, this is a commercial machine. So if you go to a coffee shop, quite often you'll see a machine that looks kind of like this. But if you go to Starbucks, you won't see it because Starbucks they're using automatic machines that are a little different. But in a high quality coffee shop, you'll usually see a machine like this one. And then, oh, how much? About 20,000. They have some that are cheaper. Yeah. If you get a good commercial machine, probably at least 15, 16,000. Yeah, and then this is a home machine. This is a home machine that you can buy for the home, and that's what we have right here. This is the home machine. Okay. So what is the difference between the normal drip coffee that we usually have and espresso? So the three big differences, for me anyway, is the texture. The texture is going to be very different. It will be very concentrated, very strong, and then the brew time. So when we brew espresso, usually 30 seconds, about 30 seconds to brew the espresso. And so I'd like to show this too. Oh, okay. Thank you. Oh, okay. All right. So in Italy, they call for espresso, they say the 4 M's of good espresso. So the first one, of course, is coffee. The beans have to be good. So you have to have very good beans. And then the second one is called macinazione, which is the grind. The grind has to be right. So if you don't get the grind correct, you cannot get good espresso. So the grind is very important. The third one is a macchina, which is the machine, the espresso machine. So you have to have a machine that can do the espresso. And then the last one, mano, which is the hand. So the person making the coffee is very important. So here, so when we say we make it espresso, we're putting pressure, we're using pressure. So they call it 9 bars. 9 bars of pressure to create the espresso. So you're probably more familiar with PSI. So like with a tire, when your tire, you pump up your tire, how many pounds for your tire? About 35. All right. So about 35 PSI for your tires. For espresso, we need 130 PSI. That's what we have to have in order to make espresso. So that's why we have to have a machine. That's why with this, you cannot get espresso. You can't get 130 pounds of pressure pushing on the coffee. So that's the difference. Why, the very basic difference between espresso and other kinds of coffee. So none of these other ways of making coffee use pressure. Only espresso uses this kind of pressure. Okay, here's a nice picture of some espresso drinks. So when we do espresso, it comes out, and this is how much we get when we do an espresso, not even the full cup, probably about half, less than half the cup for espresso. So that's what, and you can see it in the cup here. That's 1 espresso. And then here, this is a drink, they call it in Italian, they call it macchiato. And it's an espresso, and they just add a little bit of foam. They make the milk foam, and then they just put a little bit on top. They call it a macchiato. So this very strong drink too. And this is a cappuccino, which is very common. And this is a cappuccino cup. So, in Italy, most of the coffee drinks are like this. This is like a big drink for them. And I know in the US, we have like 16-ounce drink. That's so much. So, so this is a cappuccino. And then this is a difference between cappuccino and latte is a subtle difference. So cappuccino, you have more foam on top. And then the cafe latte is less foam. The only one that you usually do any kind of art, they pour a heart or they pour a rose, usually only lattes, because the foam here is too thick. You can't pour art if you're doing cappuccino. It's more difficult. Well, I think some people say they do, but really the foam on cappuccino is too thick to pour art. And the same thing with this. You see pictures, you'll see some people say, oh yeah, I can do some art, but it's, yeah, it looks nice, but anyway. And then some other drinks here, this is like a mocha. So we add chocolate, then we add some powder, make it look nice. And this one is espresso, and then we add hot water. They call it Americano. Because when Americans go to Italy, they say, well, this is too strong. Can you add some water to it? So that's why they call it Americano. So espresso, add hot water, Americano. And then you can do ice drinks too. So we do. For this, yeah, it's just espresso. or you can do this kind of drink, the macchiato. Oh yeah, so usually at home, my wife always likes to have a latte. She always likes to have latte. So I always try to make this. So I do 1 shot of espresso, and then the rest of it is milk and foam. Yeah. Okay, so how do we make espresso? There's a formula. There's a formula for making espresso. And so I've been making espresso at home for a long time. And so I have a nice machine at home. This is one machine I use, and one time I went to the shop, and I was very excited because this is a manufacturer of the machines, and and they said they had the machine set up, and they said, oh yeah, you're welcome to play with it and do stuff. And I asked a question. I said, how come sometimes at home, sometimes it comes out pretty good, sometimes not so good? How come I'm not consistent? And they asked me, are you using one of these? And I said, no. That's why. So that's why espresso is not fast. So here's our formula. So we about 18 grams of coffee. So I use this, I weigh out how much coffee I'm going to brew. And then, then I decide how much am I going to brew out. So usually about 1 to 2. So if I use 18 grams of coffee, when I brew out the espresso, it will be about 36. That's about how much. And the only way you can tell is to weigh it. So anyway, okay. And then the brew time, I told you 30 seconds, about 30 seconds. You don't, yes, yes, yes. So, so, so what happens if the brew time is too short? You won't get good flavor. You will not get good flavor. It will taste very thin. And then if it's too long, then it will get bitter. Then the taste will get bitter.
Well, sometimes we went to the shop, we order something, it's so yummy good. But even though I buy the bean, go home, make it,
Yes. So yes, the brew time is important. So even when you, yeah. Yes. 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 So the thing that they do and Kathleen knows because we serve espresso at Westminster. So if you want espresso Sunday morning before church, you can come to Westminster. We'll make a drink for you. So in the morning when you get set up, you have to adjust the grind. So you have beans, usually not that much from day to day, because the humidity will affect the grinding of the beans. And then if you're using a different kind of bean, then the grind will be different. So the grind has to be adjusted very carefully in order to get the right brew time. So in order to get the right brew time, we calibrate the grind. We usually don't adjust the dose. We don't adjust anything else. We just say, okay, we're just gonna adjust the grind. So when you go to a coffee shop, they have to do that. They have to do that. They have to get the machine set up correctly. So, and here you see that if the brew time is too short, then we make it finer. We calibrate it finer. And you see on the grinder here, it has numbers. You can see the numbers on the grinder. So smaller number, finer. So this morning, no, not this morning. When I got here today, I used these beans. I just bought them in the store just now before I came. So I have to calibrate the grind. So I guess about where it is. I had it on 10. And then it brewed out and it was a little bit too fast. It's a little bit too fast. So I made it finer. I turned it to make it just a little bit finer. Okay, so so that's how we brew espresso. And it does take some time. And okay. We talked about this already, different kinds of espresso drink. Okay, that's just kind of what we use at church. Okay. So I want to show you Ruping. Can I go to the web? Can I go to the internet? Yeah. Let me show you a couple of videos. Short videos, not long ones. Well, we can click on this one, but yeah, let me go. Can I just type?
Not just milk. It's silky smooth steam milk, perfect for pouring latte art. And Chris here is going to show you how to get it just right. Today, I'm going to be doing the talking. Chris is going to be showing you how to get beautifully silky steam milk. Now, in our last video, Paul went through the 6 most common mistakes that people make when they're trying to pour latte art. And what we found is that the one that trips up new baristas the most is getting the texture of the milk right. So that's what we're going to focus on today. We're going to give you a step-by-step guide and point out some of the things you need to know to get really silky milk texture. Now, before we get into the process, let's take a look at our ingredient, milk. Now, starting out, it's best to use full cream milk for best results. It's a lot more stable to work with, and it tastes good too. Of course, you can use light or non-fat milk. It's just less forgiving. If you inject a little bit too much air, you're going to end up with a mountain of foam at the end. So what about milk alternatives like almond, soy or oat milk? Yes, you can get great results, but it's worth noting that it really depends on the brand. Some brands just aren't designed to work with coffee. They either produce big bubbles, they don't produce any foam at all, or they just completely curdle when you add them to coffee. Don't take it personally, it's probably not you. Just pick a different brand and try again. Now, we're working on a comparison of which milk alternatives work best for coffee, so stay tuned for that one. Next is the milk jug. Now, for best results, you'll want to pick a milk jug that's around 2 to 3 times the size of the cup or the cups that you're pouring into. So for a classic 160ml flat white or cappuccino, you'll want to pick a 400ml.
Okay, yeah, so this video is just focused on how to steam milk. And I wanted to show you another one on well, we can fit, this one is not that long. It's just a few minutes. But
Milk jug. While for an 8-ounce takeaway cup, a 600ml jug is going to be a better fit. Now, the size is important because we need enough room for the milk to expand. On the other hand, if the milk is sitting too low in the jug, you won't be able to get a good whirlpool, which is essential to get a great texture. It also helps to pick a milk jug with a nice defined spout. This will really help if you want to pour a nice tight pattern on your coffee. Okay, so let's get down to business. We'll go through each step in detail and then we'll run through the whole process again at the end. So first up, you want to clear the steam wand with a quick blast of steam. Next, we want to submerge the tip of the steaming wand into the milk. Position the steaming wand off to one side of the jug on a slight angle. This is going to help create a whirlpool. I find it helps to rest the wand in the spout of the jug just like this. Next, we're going to crank the steaming wand on full. It's a classic trainee mistake to turn the steaming wand on just a little bit and then it sounds like a plane's landing. Not fun. Now, once the milk is spinning around, we want to lower the jug down a little bit to start injecting the air into the milk. You'll know you've hit the right spot when you hear a steady kissing sound. Next, when the milk is expanded around 20%, we want to raise the jug just a little to stop the kissing sound and let that milk continue to whirlpool. Now, when the bottom of the jug is too hot to touch, we want to turn off the steam. If you like a more measured approach to temperature, then you can use a thermometer like this. Or my pick is to use a temperature sticker that changes colour when the milk hits 65 degrees. Of course, you can heat it a little more or less, but it tastes and it works best at around 65 degrees Celsius. Now, before you get too excited about your creamy milk, it's time to wipe and purge that steamer every time, no excuses. Now we're going to give the jug a tap on the bench and a little swirl just to make that milk even creamier. Okay, now we're all ready to pour. Let's just recap that whole process in real time. First, we're going to purge the steamer. Then we're going to position the steaming wand so that it creates a whirlpool within the jug. We're going to crank the steam on full. We're going to lower the jug until we hear a steady kissing sound. When the milk's expanded by around 20%, we're going to raise the jug a little and continue to spin that milk. When the jug is too hot to touch, we're going to stop the steamer. We're going to wipe and spray the steamer to clean it off. And then we're going to tap and spin that jug on the bench. So that's the whole process. It's tricky to bring it all together at first, but after you've done it a few times, all those movements become really natural and fluid. So just keep practicing. So here's a tip for practicing without wasting heaps of milk. Pour some water into your jug and then add a couple of drops of washing up detergent. Now start to steam that mixture on the steaming wand and you'll notice that it creates a foam just like regular milk. You can even use this mix for practicing latte art if you've got some old coffee lying around. Just don't drink it. Okay, that's all we've got for today. Why don't you hit the like button if this video has helped you out at all. If you've got any questions, pop them down below. We'll do our best to answer them. But until next time, see ya.
Okay. I wanted to show you a video on showing you the espresso coming out. But let me talk about this one first. So the milk steaming is when we make a milk drink, of course. So like with the macchiato, it's just a little bit of foam, but usually when they're talking about pouring a pattern, pouring a hard or whatever, it's called a cafe latte. So cafe latte is the drink. And this is the cup that I use at home for doing the cafe latte. And so I put milk about here. This is about how much milk I put in here. And then this machine will produce steam. And then the steam will create the foam. And so you want the foam to be very smooth, and they were telling you tips on how to do that. And so another thing that you'll see, I'll demonstrate when we make coffee, that in order to get a pattern, you need the foam has to, this tip here has to be very close. If you hold it too high, then it will go to the bottom. So when you want a pattern, it has to be really very, very close. And I'll show you that. Okay. So let's go to Okay, this is the one I want to show you. This one here. So this one happens to be Starbucks. And some people don't like Starbucks, but I think Starbucks is okay. So here we'll show the video on and here, these are pretty nice looking shots. So this is an espresso shot. Here's the coffee down here. And then this part is foam. And the foam comes from, in Italian, they call it crema. And this is actually CO2, is carbon dioxide. So when the beans get roasted, there's carbon dioxide that gets trapped in the bean. So when you grind it and you brew it, then you see the foam here, the crema is carbon dioxide. If your coffee is not fresh, then you won't have much here. So the coffee has to be fresh, pretty freshly roasted. If you try to brew espresso and it comes out, you don't see any of this foam, then it's not very fresh. The coffee is not fresh. Okay, let's watch the video. We'll see how it comes out.
Espresso is kind of a mystery to a lot of people because the barista does things behind the machine and then there's a drink at the end. Espresso is kind of the heart of a lot of cafes. It's some great sounds. All of those sounds really go into making a cafe feel like a cafe. The thing we're doing with espresso is we've got some nice finely ground coffee. Any coffee can be used as espresso. Espresso is just a method. It's going to be coffee brewed under pressure. And we're getting a nice, really full flavor. We're kind of trying to highlight a little bit of the acidity, but mostly the sweetness of coffee. Espresso can go very wrong very quickly. If it's over-extracted, it's going to be a little bit too bitter. Under-extracted, it's going to be a little bit too acidic. Finding that perfect shot, you know it's the right shot. That first part of the shot is going to be all of our acids. And the middle part, that body of the shot, is going to be our sweetness, our sugars. And at the very end, that crema is going to give us a lot of texture, a lot of volume, and just a touch of bitterness to kind of offset the other three flavors. I love the diversity of espresso. We can really get some amazing flavors out of different coffees that you can't get in any other way you make coffee.
Okay, so you can see that it just drips up very slowly. So whenever I brew espresso, I watch it very carefully. I watch it coming out, make sure that it looks good. And the time is, of course, and then looking at the time to make sure that it's okay. All right, that's about all I have to say about espresso, but any questions? Any questions? Yes. Yeah, sometimes. So, and many bags of coffee now, they have a date. They'll have a date on it. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you buy from a store that processes their own, it's fresh.
Yeah, that too. So my experience when I go to the grocery store, I go to QFC a lot, and then I'm always looking for a good bargain. So if something's on sale, I'm going to look at. So if there's some coffee on sale, the first thing I look at is at the date and usually they have a, used by certain date. And so, I've bought in quite a number of different brands of coffee, including Starbucks. And usually what I get off the shelf in the grocery store is usually okay. It's usually okay. So, but I also roast my own beans at home. And so usually if you roast your own beans, you wait about 3 days, because when you just finish roasting the coffee, there's too much CO2. The CO2, you have to let some of it get out, because if you try to brew the coffee that you just roasted, then there'll be too much foam coming out. But yeah. Okay, well, if you have time, you want to stay, I'm going to brew coffee. I'll brew the coffee, and I'll brew as much coffee as people want. I'll try, but I tell you, it's not fast. It's not fast. Yeah. Oops, what happened to the? Okay. Okay.
To replenish the water, you need a pitcher.
Oh, I have water. It's a tank. It's easy to fill up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Uh-huh.
This morning, I make a coffee,
Mhm.
and then afternoon, after 4 hours, I still okay or no good?
You mean espresso after 4 or 5 hours? It's probably still, you can still drink it. Yeah.
So I heard people say coffee after you make it 4 hours, don't drink.
Oh.
I don't know.
So a lot of times, like, I'll tell you what I do at home. So my wife drinks more coffee than me. So I usually just drink one. She drinks two. So there's one left over. Because when we brew here, this is 2 shots. So you have 2 cups. You brew 2 shots out. So she drinks 2, and then I have to brew another one. I drink 1, and then there's 1 left over. I usually just cover it. I usually just cover it, and then I'll put it. Yeah, sometimes I drink it the next day, and it seems okay. At least I give it to my wife, and she says, "Oh yeah, it's okay." Yeah, there's a lot of milk. So this is one that I brewed a couple hours ago. So Kathleen, she drank the 1 cup, and so I'll go ahead and steam milk if someone wants to drink this one. Okay, okay, all right.
Coffee bean do you use to grind for your
At
daily
home?
coffee? At
Yeah.
home.
See, at home I use a different machine, and this is a basket for the coffee. At home I use a little bit bigger basket. So at home I use 18 and a half. For this one I'm using 17.
One,
A little bit less because it's smaller. I can't get it. It won't
so
fit.
this one can make 2 cups.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Okay, so the machine is heating up right now. So we're going to let's see. Okay. Anyway, I'll brew coffee first, and we'll see.
What is the right way to say? Because basically you only
很多电视是我们这一边的，
OK，然后他们都看不到，是不是？
因为你那边讲话是这边的，我们要看到这边一到。
对，OK，
了解吗？
了解，那是镜头转，镜头转。
朝这边的，
没有，因为讲师在这里。
对。
魏医师，这样听得到我吗？魏医师，呼叫魏医师。 温医师，您还在线上吗？温医师，可能要打电话给温医师。对，他陈医师，你要不要打个电话叫一下温医师？他可能睡着了。我一直呼叫他，没有听到。你没听到，一片空呀。打电话问他吗？还是温医师您在吗？
他不在线上。
有可能。哦，大家好，那要不然我们请 Lucy 先。Lucy， 你今天要分享吗？
温医师有啊。
没有，但是他没有开讲。他可能只是开。
温医师在打坐了吗？不然就我在边讲。啊，不是要讲。你有这边的15吗？今天有没有？医师可能在打坐是吧？好，去了。他跟我讲完话，不然就留到下个礼拜。啊？因为告我。我已经做过了。这很快了，对。
Lucy 现在很专业哦，都知道要拿麦克风。
他们也被登。
或是专业。
再把它压扁一点。那关系等一下移吗？
他的。这样好啦。
好，可以了。
好吧，这样子。
好。OK， 今天就是牛尾焖那个红酒，牛尾哈，就是去买一排嘛，差不多一排啦。那看一下，大概1.5磅。牛尾拿回来以后洗一洗，把它煎干，煎一煎。然后有红萝卜1大条，就照这个菜底就照这个写。然后洋芋就1大个，削皮切炸过一煮比较不会烂掉散掉，所以用炸的比较好。那洋葱半个就可以了，番茄1个就可以，蒜头4个，葱2条，然后这个调味哈，就把它放在一个碗里面比较好。水4杯，6杯，还有盐、糖、红酒、番茄酱，还有香草。这个OK，就弄一个大锅汤锅，就好像那个 那个酸辣汤那个锅子一样，一个大锅，然后加热，把那个蒜头、洋葱炒香，炒一炒，然后就把红酒半瓶倒下去，清水，还有把那个牛尾煎过的牛尾、红萝卜，然后就慢慢烧，烧了1个半小时。后来就把那个洋芋啊、番茄啊，再煮15分钟，15分钟以后再下那个，最后是把那个葱放上去，那就可以上桌了。就是很简单啦，最重要是牛尾啊，不要买那个太小块的，大块一点比较有肉。对，这样很简单啦，就是把它全部下去烧，就是鲜香还有炸过这2个比较奇怪。那其他都是削一削放下去，半瓶红酒，不要舍不得哦，因为没有半瓶不好吃哦，它要放半瓶才好吃。这样很简单，谢谢。会啊，你有很多东西。
好，那吴律师回来了没有？吴律师出去走路了是？好了，轮到我了。吴律师还没有回来。我今天的很少，因为我以为吴律师还有他的很多，所以我一点点。是，有道理。medicine 2024 2月1号。好 ，Are you done? Yes. 好。
waiting for coffee. It's not done yet.
回去上一个 OK 上一个。那我就是今天早上准备几张来讲了哦。那就是说，现在全世界最夯的、很热门的事情，我拿出来讲哦。这个是现在本来是他是在伦敦的一个火车上在弹钢琴，是网红嘛。结果大概有100万人看着他了。结果因为这件事情以后呢，跳到1000万人左右，800万到1000万。而且呢，现在还有人讲说 ，Don't touch Taiwan 。我想说，哇，还有这个事情哦，这个现在变成这是重要的话 ，Don't touch her 哦，就是全世界都在疯传哦，就是说因为这个在伦敦发生的一件意外哦，那个大陆的网红表现太过度了哦，那引起的是全世界都很生气哦，这样。所以大家知道这个 Don't touch her 以后可能会有 T 恤的啦，很多东西哦。这个 Don't touch me，Don't touch 什么都 Don't touch 了哦，是不是很有意思？哦，所以这个也是给我们一个体会了哦。有一些文化呢，它是要教育的，并不是随便可以乱来。 下一个呢怎么弄？哦，在这里。
Yes。
不动。哦，现在就是这个女的是主要的，那时候跟他在沟通的啦，哦，然后旁边那个男的在那边大吼大叫，哦，我第一次听的时候，他刚开始说的时候，我吓一跳，怎么这么凶，怎么那么大声？哦，那现在连那个英国的那个叫什么？他很有名哦，他非常有名，他也在那边跳这个，这个是很有意思。好，那再来就是说，我看到大陆现在连鼓励小孩子都要去做抽血、做染色体分析哈，这个是很恐怖的哦。在美国，他也是设立一个华大公司，是上海的。 然后他一直在收集美国的公司，他产品销到美国，然后美国做检查呢，资料送回大陆给他。好，Hello，呀，呀。我这样好不好？我现在在开会，因为这样的，然后因为都翻开了，翻出来了。好，那现在这边没地方。OK， 现在正在开会，正在开会。OK， 好。所以呢，他现在全国收集抽血资料，做染色体分析，这个变得很恐怖哦，因为他把人从小孩子一直分析呢，全国收集资料。那么如果谁要器官移植，就可以知道哪一个是可以的。所以他们大陆现在损失很多，突然消失呢，人突然消失，尤其是年轻人，就是某一个人他出钱买，然后找到哪一个他就去跟他要他的器官，不然就是杀掉。这个是现在引起，看也是很恐怖了哦。那小心哈，在美国是不能随便这样。那再来就是说，前几天日本的人造卫星登陆月球哦，那相当成功的登陆了哦。结果登陆以后，那个人造卫星就倒下来哦，因为它本来是设计的很好，飞出去呢，在月球，然后收集很多资料，它可以传回来送这样哦，所以它的设计非常好哦。那登陆也其实算成功了哦，结果呢，它是登陆本来是这样，然后下来，他要把这个丢掉哦。哦，那在下去以前，它先有一个这个圆球的东西先放下来，放下来以后，这个是不是它跟人造卫星分开来了哦？那这个以后它会打开，里面有很多电子的东西，跟这个太空船接触，然后把资料送来送去这样哦。结果他把这个丢了以后，不晓得那个力量不对啊，什么变成他就倒在那里了。那倒下去以后呢，它的那个电池呢，只能够10几个小时，因为它是太阳能的，结果倒下去它就没办法，它就被遮掉了，没办法晒太阳，哦，就变成不能动了，哦，所以要等到10几天以后，太阳它的那个月球跟地球的那个轨道才又重新有太阳，或许可以了，哦，这个是很好玩。那登陆成功，但是就是那个地方弄了以后就倒下去不能动了。哦，那现在是他第一张送回来的月球的照片，哦，真的不错了。哦，那这里呢，我最近一直鼓励大家学这个电脑画图。哦，其实我的意思，我 我小时候喜欢画图，但是一直没有机会哦。那我是想是，我们越来越老了，你一定要选几样你可以自己坐在家里可以做的事情。哦，画图是很好哦。那你画图的话呢，你更老的时候可能要有一个人服侍你啦，给你弄纸啦，弄一大堆哦。像这个老师一直给我们帮忙弄东西哦。那如果说只用电脑可不可以？哦，有一台电脑，那么你就在那边玩来玩去的呢，都可以画哦。这是我今天早上1点多画的了哦。那因为我没有那个时间，这个是本来我去日本照的一个照片了哦，我没有时间一个一个画，所以我就随便这样画哦。那这个就是它的用笔哦，这里有很多笔，大概3、4种笔，你可以选哪一种，然后选颜色哦，然后你就可以画哦。那这个画里面你就可以学很多不同方法。这个树干你是画直的，但是你可以怎么弄它变成弯弯曲曲的，像老树干一样的哦。还有颜色怎么弄，还有这个呢，它那个笔的那个内容不一样哦。那你可以用很多不同的画，这是很好玩的哦。那每一样都是很新的，像我昨天学到是用另外一种笔呢，可以在本来涂上去里面点很多东西进去，这是比较小点这样哦。还有另外一个 Q-tip 呢，可以把这里弄模糊，哦，弄模糊这样哦，这样，这变成你都可以试很多东西，那不要了就delete这样而已。好，那我另外想一个，就是可以画一个你想要的。这个我画的不是很好，因为男生不好看啊。就是说你的以后我的想法是，你的一张照片很漂亮，这边画一个什么东西来享受你这个画，也是一个方法。好，所以意思给大家就是说，这种东西你只要一个电脑的软体都是免费的，我们上个礼拜有送给大家了哦。那你就根据你要的颜色，哪一种笔，什么颜色。还有它好几个function哦，还有这个浓厚度啦，那个颜色深浅度、笔的大小，你就可以玩很多东西哦。这样，那相当好玩的哦。那也是变化多端，重点是你现在还可以学的时候，赶快去学，因为当你到85岁，大概学不起来了。哦，刚刚按这个，刚刚是按什么都忘记哦。所以呢，如果会了就很快哦。这样。那下个礼拜我会讲，我们去酒田哦，萨卡塔哦。那我这次去日本，在公园里面看到这个东西哦，这个以前我都不知道那个是在干什么哦。所以谁知道？不知道哦，因为树长得越来越大，它会失去平衡，所以它这边有上去，然后像伞一样把它拉住。哦，拉住它才固定一个姿势了哦。所以我去那边，它那个公园很多这个哦。那这个大概最后一张照片哦，这个也是在他那边一个卖东西的地方的花园里面一棵树哦。那我是从树干的边往天空照哦，这是一个我常常照的方法哦。这仰角侧光哦，然后它这边是近。这边是远哦，它有远近深浅这样，也是一张不错的图了哦。那其实你在旁边走过去，你也不会觉得它有什么好看，就是一棵树而已。但是你随时想的是这些东西在空中是一幅画一幅画，这样你就会把它抓下来。好，大概就到这里而已哦。今天我准备比较少，那这里。就是大家，所以我上个礼拜提的包肥俱乐部哦，包肥的buffet了哦，意思就是像我们今天发的一样，你有什么要来教的，像他今天来讲的哈，教给大家，那么就大家来学，互相学哦。那像我们学这个画图这个呢，现在是先介绍你们先去 download 它的软体，然后我们找时间一次1个小时，大家专门来练那几个步骤。这样你才会去做的哦，不然我这边讲半天，回去全部忘光，也都不会做，那我们是白讲哦，对不对？一定要做。像有人要学太极拳， 那我们就来学会太极的，就专门一招就好哦，怎么来起势，怎么这样，你在这边练1个礼拜、2个礼拜，你就会去练哦。不然的话，我跟你讲这样弄半天，你回去看不懂，那就算了哦。那其实我练太极的意思就是，我看到太多老人在养老院啊什么的，他就像这样坐着，什么都不动。哦，那看别人在做，走来走去，哎，还蛮快乐，就这样而已。哦，其他他什么都不动，因为他说不会，他也没有学。哦，所以我才说这样，我不要那个情形。哦，早一点学，你都记下来。哦，所以我常提，我现在打的那个那个城市太极13式呢，我学了6个月，看不懂就是看不懂。我同学在教了，哦，从那上面在台湾教，所以我上网看同样的这个同一个人打13式，我看3个半小时，就把它背下来。哦，背下来，我现在可以自己打了，不很标准，但是至少我记下来。哦，这样的话呢，我以后90岁我还是可以自己打。哦，可以自己打，对不对？哦，不然的话，到90岁如果有活到那么久，哦，
有烂。
表演一下，13式表演一下，谁是抱个大西瓜？到前面来。
哦，13式很容易，但是你就是要去练，然后记下来。哦，所以我现在自己的运动就是8段锦，那个温医师的那个甩手，还有温医师的那个养生功，再来就是这个13式。如果有时间，再一个缠绕功的什么，那这样就够了，到1个小时就够了。哦，这样，所以呢，大家想一下，如果就多来参加我们的学了就是回去要去做。哦，做了以后你活到90岁都还记得，这样你才不会被忽略了。哦，因为我们现在老了，一定要学独立。哦，你不能靠人家。哦，前几天人家播出来一个大陆的是70岁，财产都给小孩子，结果没有人理，把他丢在疗养院。哦，我就想说70岁怎么已经要人家帮忙了，这有点太糟糕了。哦，你要学独立，自己能够独立做，然后你在80岁、90岁，你都是可以自己独立。到真的没办法倒下去了，那就只好请他们帮忙。哦，这样是，所以呢，我才第1张slide就是说，老业要精于勤，才能精于嬉了。哦，你要去努力的练，才能够享受你会的这些东西，不然都不练也可以看电视，每天看哦，这个政论节目啦，什么看得一塌糊涂，气得要命，不能用，哦、对不对？所以那不要哦，你该做的，现在想要去学的，想要做的，赶快去做，你会了，那就是你的。好，
所以是你今天的围巾是你的带来的吗？
这个是破送给我的生日，Cambodia，我故意秀出来。
我也觉得奇怪，你今天特别把那个围巾送我。
他刚送给我。
很有
对呀，好，那大家享受蛋糕。OK， 来，大家吃蛋糕，你就来跳舞。
还有两种哦，叫插块，没有办法2个都吃啊，有的人好搭讪。
好了，那我们今天演讲到这里，温医师大概没有回来。那就下个礼拜喽。这边以后来开咖啡店，那大家来聊天咖啡就买这边的咖啡。那服务人员大概是这么多。我们有咖啡了吗？还没有。没有了。I'm waiting. 平常自产一些这边是这样，因为他刚讲是说他要喝咖啡，因为我想大家都这样。
我是想说，一个是 cake。然后跟我的弟啊在你那个，你这个出来都冇，因为我自己我自己有点没啊，然后跟我现在去今年来，我到没有。
大概没有关机了。
他没有开啦。公司还在讲话，你可以问他嘛。
我有问他的公司，我刚问了他都没有回答，好像他出去了。
我家有这个，但是不是在一起买的，我们家人比较多。
我在比了哈，你还在提前哦，赶快选择那个。就已经是怎样？到底多少？好了，不用担心了。尿便的就不一定，我没有糖尿病，我糖尿病没他血糖是你一上去马上就身体很厉害。哦，这样子。好，谢谢哦，我太担心。是啊，这样子。而且就是搞方面要小心了，要小心。对了，我在花市看波多奈主任，对啊，看波多奈现在也是说你，如果你现在是70多岁，那可以松一点，可以松一点。大概有会在另外朋友。
Yes, during the before here, like today, they come somebody. I'm still gonna have to go over another class. just to tell me class. And you put all out and on Saturday and Sunday. Right. I got your pictures to express it. So I go half over the cloud, then I leave when I get back.
哦，要学，我在那边就有点。他这个是很 enjoy，然后slowly 慢慢做，慢慢 enjoy。就好像台湾在唱老曲一样，慢慢放，慢慢喝。
哎呀，我那是If they'll swear, we're somewhere outside. With the And I'm scared because I've always said
好，走了。好，谢谢，谢谢。
Well, in some time, I've got all day, yeah, maybe I'll hold you here.
刚才一个是他的，是我的声音。
对。